Woman, behold your son. John, behold your mother.
You know, Mary, when he said these words, I didn't know what to think at first. Oh, don't get me wrong, Mary. I've always been fond of you. You've always been so much gentler than my mother. But then that's just the point. I already had a mother. And with my own mother standing, well, not too far away, you've got to understand that I felt pretty awkward.
Awkward? I certainly know that feeling. When it comes to my son Jesus, that is, I don't know what happened exactly. We used to be so close. I remember when he was a young child, his eyes had such a sparkle. When he discovered something new, he'd always share it with me. He liked helping me around the house, too. Of course, when he got a little older, he would spend more time helping his father with the carpentry work. That didn't bother me. I expected that. He needed to learn the trade, and he learned it so well. I don't know what I would have done without him when his father died, and now I've lost him too.
This has been all so hard on you, I know.
Yes, it has. Anyway, as I was saying, he grew up so fast after his father died. He helped with all the things his father used to do. I was glad then that he grew up fast. Later it didn't seem so wonderful. More and more, his mind seemed to be on things away from home. There was a lot of tension between us. I guess I always knew that one day he would be leaving home, and I didn't know how hard it would be. He would be gone for so long. Then I learned that some of the things he was teaching were making people angry. People talked about how much danger he was in. As his mother, it frightened me. So I got the family together and we went to talk to him. I wanted to convince him to come home where he could be safe. I know, I probably shouldn't have interfered, but what he said then, that really made me feel awkward. He said right in front of everybody, "Who is my mother, and who are my brothers?" And then he stretched out his hands toward you, John, and the others, and he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Talk about awkward. I felt like falling into one of the cracks in the street. At the time, it felt like he cared more about his cause than he did about his family. I didn't really understand that cause at the time. I can't say that I really understand it even now.
I'm sure it was awkward for you, Mary, but I know he didn't mean to hurt you. He just had to break away. I'm sure he would have liked to stay home with you. But in order to accomplish his mission, he had to leave behind him the things that were safe and comfortable. It's easy to leave behind that which you no longer need or care about. It's much harder to leave behind what still gives you warmth and security. Maybe that's why he demanded that his disciples be courageous enough to leave behind their fathers, mothers, sisters, and brothers. Only this could we know if they were as dedicated as their mission as he was. It wasn't that he loved his cause more than he loved his family, but he just knew that only through accomplishing his mission could he best love his family and every other family as well.
Yes, I'm trying to understand that, but right now I think I would have traded it all, the angels and the star of long ago, and this mission you keep speaking of, just for the chance to have my Jesus as a normal son who was still alive.
I reacted differently to his words. I've always felt so close to Jesus. It seemed that we were kindred spirits. I was never like that with James. It was never like that with James and me. Oh, James and I are brothers, and I do love him. But we always fought so much. You know how brothers are.
I certainly do.
It always seemed like James and I were competing. It was never like that with Jesus. I always felt he was more like what a real brother should be. When Jesus talked about us being his brother, sister, and mother, well, it just confirmed what I was already feeling. I hope you still don't feel hurt by that.
Not anymore, John, my son. As I said, there were times when I felt like Jesus no longer cared about his family. But when he called you to be like a son to me, then I knew. Not only did he love humanity in general, but he still loved me. He cared about my welfare and what would happen to me after he was gone. It was hard to say whether my tears at the time were because of his suffering or because I knew that he cared. John, I know how much you meant to him. You were like a brother to my Jesus. I'm proud to call you my son.
In so short a time, I've come to prize our relationship too, Mary. Oh, I still love my mother, Salome. She has done so much for me, as did my father, Zebedee. But Dad never really understood me. We were wealthy fishermen, and he couldn't understand why James and I would leave the business to follow some poor wandering rabbi. And Mom has always pushed me so hard. I still remember how she goaded James and me into trying to get Jesus to give us favored positions in his kingdom. Well, she meant well, but I am so much more myself with you, Mary, and we have our love for Jesus, which binds us together.
Yes, it does. And I think that's why his words from this cross were so important, not just for us, but for others who might be like us. So many people are alone in this world with nobody to care for them.
And others feel out of place in their own families.
Yes, they do. Especially in times like this, we all need the closeness of being a family. For some people, that family is formed by blood relationship, and that is a beautiful and precious thing. But for all of us, perhaps there can be a family formed by the blood shed on this cross. And that is even more beautiful for all who live with others.
And for all who live alone.
We need the binding power of the love shown so clearly on this cross. Each person needs to know that he or she is cared about. Every person needs to know what we have found out. This cross has made us family.